Hey everybody, it's Derek here once again from Hully Gully, the ultimate toy store here in London, Ontario, Canada. It's about that time again where people are getting ready to get their bikes out of storage and get ready for that first run of the season. But have you done that first vehicle inspection check yet? Now I'm going to go over a few things with you here today. Some of them might seem very basic, but I have to tell you, even some of the veteran riders have made some of the simplest mistakes and it's caused them some trouble. You have to remember, some motorcycles now, especially some of the newer ones like the big Harleys and things like that, don't have a key any longer. They use a fob, very similar to the ones that you use in your automobile. Something like this. You have to remember, keep it in your pocket. A friend of mine once started his bike because the fob was on the desk next to it. He drove away, went a long distance, shut it off to get a coffee, and guess what happened when he went to start his bike? It wouldn't work. So even the veterans have made the simplest mistakes. So let's go through a basic check first. Some of the things that you might want to go over on your motorcycle if A, you're a new rider, or B, you just haven't ridden your bike in a while or you're bringing it out for that first ride of the season. Tire pressure and tire condition is really where you need to start. Inspect your tire. Make sure that you've got some good tread wear there. Make sure there are no weather cracks or any sign of cracking or holes or anything in the side of the tire. Weather cracking on the side of a motorcycle tire is not good. If you see that, you should go and have it inspected by a proper mechanic. Check your tire pressure. Your owner's manual should give you the proper pressure gauges or pressure levels for your tires. Normally on cruiser motorcycles, the fronts are anywhere from 26 to 29 pounds, the rears around 30 to 32, but again, check your owner's manual for proper inspection. Another thing you might want to do, especially if your motorcycle has spokes like this one, if you have something metallic like a screwdriver, give them a little ping. What you should hear is a little high-pitched ping. If you hear a thud, you've got a dead spoke. Another reason to go and see your mechanic, have it tightened up and make sure that your wheels are in good shape. While you're down here, I'm just going to turn this wheel the other way. Check your brake pads. If you can see down through here, you can check for the thickness of the brake pad material itself. If it looks rather thin, move the bike, try it with your front brake on and see if it actually grabs nice and tight. If there's any kind of slip or motion in there at all, you might want to again take it in and have a mechanic inspect those brake pads for you. In time, the rotors can actually wear and get thin and below specification. They are stamped with what the actual size should be. Again, a certified mechanic can tell you if your rotors are going to be good for this year. While we're down here, another thing that you can check on motorcycles is if you have a shock absorber that you can actually get to and see. These ones are covered, so it's a little harder on this bike. Give your front end a good bounce up and down and check the shock absorber area to see if there's any moisture or oil on the shock. If you wipe it clean, bounce it again, and if you start to see oil again very quickly, it could be a sign that your fork seals are on their way out. Something else that you might want to check. Some of the other basics before you go out for that first ride again are your electronics. Do your headlights work? Do your turn signals work? So turn on your motorcycle, check your headlight for high beam, low beam, and your turn signals. Make sure that your blinkers are working, because if they're not, you could take a turn for the worse. Just saying. Make sure, and again, this is going to seem rather obvious, but before you go out for your first ride, how's your gas? Not all bikes have a gasoline level, so this particular motorcycle does not. It'll have a light that will come on that'll tell you when you're almost out of gas. But if you start off with about a quarter tank, that light's not on. If you're heading out for a longer ride, it's something that you might want to inspect before you get going. So while we're talking about fluids and gasoline, what about the engine oil? So most engines will have a small crankcase filler or cap. You can open that up. Some bikes will have a dipstick, just like this one. Check for your oil fluid, check for color. If it's been stored for the winter, hopefully you did an oil change before you put it away. If you're going out for that first ride for the season and you haven't done that yet, it's something you might want to consider before you put too many kilometers on this year. Make sure that you're seeing good level on here. Wipe it off first, put the dipstick in, take it out, and make sure you're at the marks as prescribed by your owner's manual. Again, while we're up here, make sure that all of your cables and levers are working properly. Pull your clutch lever, it should be smooth and should return easily. Another thing we can do is give the throttle a quick twist, and it should snap back into place. If the cables are tight or gummed up, you can loosen them here and buy some WD-40 or some proper cable lube, spray it down through your cables, and again, try it again. Check all of your other cables, follow them down, make sure that there's no leaks or any dampness on there, and especially at your rotors and your brakes. While you're down checking your oil, look underneath the motorcycle. Always a good time to check to see if there's any leakage from the crankcase or other components on the engine. We're nice and dry under here today, so everything's good to go. If you have saddlebags or accessories on your motorcycle, before you go out for that ride, make sure that they're done up and buckled properly. This one uses looks like a buckle, but it's actually a plastic clip here that opens up to allow the top to open. So before you go out on that first ride, close her up and make sure that that snap is locked nice and tight. That way it's not going to blow open and you're not going to lose your riding gear on that trip. We've gone through cables, we've gone through belts, we've done those type of things. This particular motorcycle, it's a great one to have because it's a shaft drive system. These only require a little bit of inspection, maybe once or twice a year. There's a filler cap on the back and really you're just checking for oil. Most motorcycles though will either operate with a chain, sprockets, or a belt. So before you go for that ride, give that chain a little bit of a movement. You should have about 1.5 inches of play up and down. If it's a lot more than that, check your manual for specifications again because it may need to be tightened slightly before that first ride. Same thing with a belt. Inspect it before you ride and check it for cracks. Any frays in that belt could be a sign that it could snap at any time. So again, if you suspect anything like that, get in and see your local service dealer as quick as you can. Those are the basic things that you can do before you head out on a ride. I know they seem pretty simple. It only takes a few minutes to make sure that everything's ready to go. A couple of other things that you might want to do that'll take a little bit more time, but ensure a good, safe riding season, is check your air filter. Motorcycles will have them at different places. Some you have to locate them under the gas tank. This one's very simple. It's actually on the side here. You can pull the cover off and have quick access to your air filter. Take it out, inspect it, check it for dirt, blockages, dust, or anything like that. Best way to clean them, if you can, is a little soap and water, rinse them out, and put a little bit of light oil back on them again before you put them back on the motorcycle. This will make sure that any small particles get caught in the foam or in the filter itself and not end up in your engine. One other thing that you can do, again, takes a little bit more time. If you have the tools and you're okay with it, you can do it yourself, and that's pop your spark plugs out before you go for that run. Take them out, inspect them, make sure that they're nice and clean. They're not a dark brown color or a very wet color, because that means you're running too rich or too lean, and some adjustments may need to be done to your engine. So there's just a few extra things to keep in mind before you head out on the road this spring or for your very first ride. Thanks for watching today. We really appreciate it. You can check out other videos at www.hullygully.com, on our Facebook page, and of course on Instagram. My name's Derek. Thanks for watching.